What's going on, Pinball Land? Welcome to episode 4. That is 04 of the Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast. My name's Ken Cromwell. With me, as always, Greg Bone. Greg, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Ready to talk some pinball, live pinball, that sort of thing. You know, just love pinball.
I missed you, man. Like, we didn't podcast for about 10 days. It felt like an eternity.
I know. I felt a little lost.
Right. So much for that, like, that every other week cadence. But we're back, and we're better than before, doing our best to inform and entertain along the way.
We are. And you know, something was brought to my attention here recently. It seems that Spooky is kind of encouraging potential interested list in their next game. So while
Spooky Pinball, that is,
yeah,
eh?
Yeah, Spooky Pinball, exactly. And, you know, their last game, we all saw, you know, Evil Dead, you know, sold out. It sold very well. People are kind of clamoring to get on, you know, to still get a hold of that game. And it's very hard because nobody's dropping off of our list, which is always an amazing thing. But so we are currently going to take an interested list on the next Spooky Pinball title. Now, while we cannot speak of that, we cannot speak of what the rumors potentially are. You know, any rumors that you heard of what their potential next game is, by all means contact Ken Cromwell or I, Ken at flipinoutpinball.com or Greg, Greg, at flipinoutpinball.com. And we would be more than happy to put you on that interested list. And as always, you know, because it's so early on, no non-refundable deposit, nothing required at this time until the game is revealed. But you get on this list, we will fill out a form, everything. We'll have everything taken care of for you so that your spot is reserved now for that, and you'll be in that position in line. And then again, when the game is revealed, that's when your deposit will be due.
Okay, nice. So, and the question I had for you, because I wasn't with Flippin' Out at the time, just going back to when Evil Dead was released, and I assume you guys had an interest list for Evil Dead, right?
Slightly, yeah. You know, we kind of really started with a lot of this with Potter, you know, when Jack kind of spilled the beans a little early, and then they kind of gave us the approval to go ahead and, you know, take that list. That's kind of when this started, but you know, again, we're good to go here with Spooky on this. And again, you know, Potter was a little different because we could talk about what that was. We knew what the game was coming out. This one we do not. Right. We really can't talk about it much. But again, you know, if you're out there, you're hearing rumors, there's some things flying around that you're hearing, contact us. Get on the list. It's not going to hurt anything.
And again, just to summarize, no obligation, no money down. You're not reserving a spot with any type of cash or financial investment. You're just on the interest list when the game's released. You've kind of reserved the spot. So you essentially, you put yourself in a position to have the first right of refusal on a game when it comes out.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And you heard it here first on the Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast.
Breaking the news, day by day, minute by minute, week by week. I want to take a quick minute and welcome our new Patreon members, Trace, Nicole, Austin, Trent, and Pete. All new Patreon members. Appreciate it. If you want to come in and support the show and get a little bit more of an inside approach to what we're doing over here, go to patreon.com/flippinoutpinballpodcast, and we are there. So a little over a week ago, we posted on our social media a question, and it was to kind of get an idea. We wanted to know what everybody's controversial pinball opinion was, and it garnered some attention. We got some interesting kind of feedback from that, so we wanted to address some of it here just because I think it'd be fun.
Some of it was pretty interesting.
Some of it was pretty interesting, and some of it was borderline offensive to me personally.
I know exactly which one you're talking about too, and I loved putting that on our sheet. You know, like, Ken, look at this one. This one's for you, buddy.
Oh, terrible. Terrible. It's like you're ripping my heart out here. But hey, you know what? The great thing with pinball is it's very subjective, and you know, a lot of what I like, somebody else doesn't like, vice versa. It is what it is. It is what it is. How do you want to do this? You want to go through this list and we'll just kind of knock them out one by one, or what do you want to do?
Take some out. Let's see what some people got to say here, because I'm excited to kind of address some of these people and tell them that they're just absolutely wrong.
All right. All right, here we go. Here's one. One of the controversial pinball opinions is this: artwork is the least important part of a pinball machine. Greg, what are your thoughts on artwork is the least important part of a pinball machine?
It's a little interesting to me. I mean, because we always look at these as works of art. I mean, we tout it and we talk about it all the time. You know, it's just literally a massive playable piece of art. in your room. And you know, obviously art, as we have seen just recently, gets a little out of hand with people's opinions and what they feel they should get, what they didn't get, what they wanted, that sort of thing. So, but I'm kind of, man,
Right.
I'm kind of mixed, because art has, like, Walking Dead, for example. Walking Dead, absolutely horrible art on the Pro. Turned me off from the
Right.
game. Not the theme, not that it's zombies, not that it's just whatever. It was just because it's so damn ugly. So, like, art has turned me away before, but then I also have some games that are like Lethal Weapon 3, one of my favorite games. It's kind of ugly artwork.
Lethal Weapon 3. I know that's not the artwork that's tying you into Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not the call outs. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
so you
Lethal
know what
Weapon
I'm
3 is like, it's my kryptonite, Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah, there's games that I accept that are not like, not the prettiest games, but I still love them.
Yeah.
But I don't know what, because I think call outs are more important. I think, you know, obviously the design, the toys, and I think all that's more important. Maybe artwork is more important than your animations.
Yeah, it caught me by surprise, because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, well, that's false. There's no way that's
Yes.
true. But then when I started thinking about it, I think it's going to mean something different to everybody, obviously. But if you're one that doesn't play much and doesn't really get into rule sets, and you just appreciate these games for what they are, in the sense that they are beautiful, kinetic pieces of artwork, then artwork is going to be super important for you, because it's going to be, it's got to look great in your lineup. It's got to look good in your room. You know, when people come in, you want people to look at it and be like, that's amazing. On the flip side of things, you know, for me personally, as much as I love the artwork, I can see where it wouldn't have as much impact on me when I'm buying a game. And it went back to this, just being in a position to play a whitewood. You can have, and a whitewood, for somebody that might not know, a whitewood is basically, it's a playfield without any artwork, and it just basically has your mechs, your flippers, and inserts. And a lot of times those inserts are not even labeled.
Which is all part of the design process.
Yeah, correct. I mean, before you're going to populate everything and art it up, you're just going to have something that's conceptually flipping well. And I remember going back in time a little bit, when Scott Denisi had come out with Total Nuclear Annihilation, TNA.
Mm-hmm.
He had taken that game to several pinball shows and was streaming that game online as a whitewood, and it garnered a lot of attention and a lot of enthusiasm without any artwork at all. Now, and then, you know, obviously when it went to production, it had artwork. Being a Jersey Jack pinball playing whitewoods, you can just have fun on a whitewood. And obviously I would prefer to have artwork, but it made me really think, for me personally, is artwork the least important thing? I don't know that it's least important, but it might not be as important as I originally thought it was. And that is not to demean or belittle anybody that's a pinball artist or as an artist in general, because trust me, we love what you guys are doing. And it's not about saying what you're doing is this insignificant, but I'm thinking to myself, do I need a game to shoot better than the artwork looks? Yes. Do I need a game to sound better than the artwork looks? Questionable. I don't know.
To your point, it's kind of crazy, because I think when you first hear that, you think, okay, yes, it is super important, or you go, no, it's not important at all. But it's one of those things you just don't put a lot of thought into. But if you do, you kind of start swaying. You know, it becomes a very gray area for you, regardless of what you feel.
I would agree. Like, it caught me off guard, and I loved it, because again, it made me think about it in a way that I never would have thought about it before.
It did
but
me too.
I still think art is super important. I don't think it's the least important, but it is an interesting question. The second one that came in is this Ghostbusters, which is the game by Stern Pinball. Ghostbusters is awful.
Dude, listen. That is definitely a hill that I will die on. I think it is one of the best Stern games ever made. The problem people have with it is they just suck at pinball. That's all it comes down to when they hate that game.
The problem has always been plagued by the flipper gap on that game.
But you know what?
Or the linear code set that was early on before Dwight kind of went in and readjusted where his approach
but
was.
you know what? Listen, I'll be 100% honest, and I'm truthful about it. That game, owning that game, and I've said this before, owning that game and The Walking Dead made me 10 times a better pinball player, because you had to learn to nudge, to smack. You had to learn to manipulate a game, and there was the only way
Right.
to play both of those. So it really ups your pinball skills when you do own those games and you play them. Now, that being said, if you're only out playing on location and you've never owned one in your home, I can see where you'd be like, okay, I'm not putting dollars in this.
Right, right, right. It's Ghostbusters was my first new in box experience. First game I ever bought new in box from Stern Pinball, and it's got a special place in my heart from that aspect. But I mean that game just hit great on theme. It just was a full feature packed game. You had
It's beautiful.
You had
To me, it's Zombie Yeti's best art package ever.
I don't know that I disagree with that. And that was really the first time I believe that Zombie Yeti was on the radar in pinball. That was kind of his inaugural debut with Pinball Art Package, and I loved it. Now, in my opinion, that game is good enough for it to be remastered. I would love to
100%.
see that game re-released on Spike 3. I mean, I don't see. Obviously, there's a lot of things in play to make that happen, but I think that would be that'd be a banger for Stern if they did that. And you know what? I will say this: a pinball confession here, going back to the old days of Zach Many's pinball confessions, but. What I did with that flipper gap originally, because I was not a skilled player, I'm still not a skilled player, but I actually went out. I got the center post kit on it. Yes, I did. I got the center post kit. It was great because it could be removed easily. It didn't go into the play field. It hovered above like the slings. But you know what? It was fine, and it was not a big deal. I eventually ended up taking it off. But when I had it and that center post kit was there, and look, these games are meant for you to customize how you see fit so that you get the max enjoyment out of it. And at that time, I did.
I don't agree with that. Now, on location, I don't think locations should make things inherently harder or make things inherently easier. But in your home, set them up, man. You want 5 balls on your game at home? Put 5 balls on there. Make it how that you're going to enjoy that game, because some people don't give a game a chance because there's one particular aspect of it that might be a little too difficult, so then they just steer away from it.
100% agree. 100% agree. You ready for another one?
Oh, yeah, always. Keep them coming.
All right, you having fun? You having a good time? We're coming at you hot with these quick takes here. Here it is. It is okay to put pinball machines in the living room.
that
Do you
to
agree
me
or disagree?
So that's a kind of a loaded question. To me, it comes down to a couple of factors. Are you single?
Does one of them start with your wife? Yes, it's exactly.
Yes. Then the other one. How does the spouse feel about that?
Oh my gosh. Dude, you hit it right on the head. I was like, the first thing I thought of is, what is your current relationship status?
Yes,
that's so
that
funny.
To me is the ultimate. Well, and so I'll be fully transparent. So, sometimes we will, if there's a local trade or something, Zach can't get here to do something. I will have people drop games off at my house. I'll house a game in my garage or so forth. Sometimes. And so I've had 2 different games that, because I wanted to play them, I knew Zach wasn't going to be up this way for a couple weeks, or I wasn't going to be down to him. I took, I believe it was a Hobbit, and then I had an Aerosmith in my living room separately, not together.
That's great.
At one time.
Yep.
Yeah, because I didn't want them in the garage because it was too freezing cold to be out there playing, but I wanted to play the games. So, I did get approval to be able to put those in the living room for a brief moment of time. And I'll have to say, it's amazing. Like, you just look over, you're watching a little TV.
Right. It's right there.
Yeah. Stand up off the couch.
If only you had a bigger bathroom, right? You would have one in there.
Oh,
no
my.
problem.
Hey, listen, I would have, I'm not lying, Ken. I swear to you, if my bedroom was bigger, I would have pins in my bedroom.
How would the wife feel about a pinball machine in the bedroom, Greg?
Oh, she would hate it. She would hate it. She don't even
Would
come
she
to
hate
the
it?
basement. She don't even like to see. She don't even ever know what games I own. She literally has no idea. She will come down and be like, "Oh, when'd you get this?" I'm like, 8 months ago.
Right. Exactly. I had the same thing. When I had everything downstairs in the basement before I moved everything into the garage and made it a game room, I would probably had 50 games coming in and out over the course of a summer, and my wife had no idea what was coming in and out of the house.
Oh yeah,
but,
mine does not know at all. Now I will tell you real quick, my wife is actually hooked on Harry Potter, and she has not played pinball for years because she kind of despises it because
Nice.
it's my entire life. But she does come down and play Potter.
That's huge, man. I mean, somebody that's maybe casual accepts appreciating pinball because it's your passion, and now she's downstairs playing the Harry Potter.
Yes,
Gotta like
but
that. I love
back to the original question. I personally, and I think a lot of pinheads will agree, that pinball in the living room is 100% acceptable. But You just got to get approval.
Yeah, I would say if you're that into pinball, there's no bad place to put a pinball machine, honestly.
Agreed.
So I don't know that it's taboo. I guess maybe from a, I don't know, from just your normal interior designer approach might not be ideal. But hey, I've seen people that have themed a corner or a wall around a game, and it looks like it's perfect, like it's meant to be there.
Yeah,
So that's
you're not wrong.
That's cool. I'm down with it. All right, you ready for another one? Let's go. We have this one. If a game has ramps, Greg, they must be metal and not plastic. Controversial pinball opinion. If a game has ramps, they've got to be metal. They cannot be plastic.
So this one's intriguing to me. It probably didn't intrigue you as much because, you know, we often fight and say, you know, I want metal ramps. You cheaped out. Doesn't have metal ramps. It's plastic ramps, everything else, blah, blah.
Yep.
But, you know, there's something to be said about plastic ramps. To me, they're not as cumbersome and then, you know, view restrictive as what sometimes I feel like wire forms can be. And
Yep, bingo.
man, like plastic, the buttery smoothness of plastic ramps sometimes, it just can't be beat. So, I mean, I just think it's like what these designers do, you know, the same exact designers will use plastic ramps. Sometimes they'll use wire forms. I think it just comes down to the game and what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And for me, it was more of a viewing angle. I don't mind plastic. It allows me to see more of the playfield, more of the artwork. Where that metal ramp tends to be a little bit more intrusive on your viewing. And you're absolutely right. I guess a properly constructed ramp is going to play well anyways, but it seems like there's less drag on a plastic ramp to me than there is on metal. And, you know, I don't know. I don't have a scientific study to back that up. But, yeah, I would agree with you that plastic can take the place in metal.
The only thing that bothers me about plastic, and, you know, we've seen a lot of manufacturers put, you know, decal or something underneath, is I hate, you know, them getting worn and rubbed, and, you know, you can take and you can flame polish a ramp and so forth, but it's still like, that's the one thing that I prefer a metal ramp, like actual ramp for, is I hate ball tracks and the scuffing of plastic and that hazing of a plastic ramp after, you know, hundreds of plays.
Oh, man.
But
I remember years ago, I picked up a Baywatch out of the city, out of Chicago, and if I remember correctly, they said that they cleaned the ramps, and I looked at the ramps, and they were all scratched up, and I think they cleaned the ramps with steel wool. And I was like, oh, man, not on plastic. That was maybe step one of a process, but you got to do something else with that. So it had a nice cloud effect to it.
The problem with those ramps is some of them, I mean, you take an older game, like, you know, the very first one I ever tried this on was my Lost World, because, you know, I did a full tear down of it and everything. And again, it pissed me off. I can't stand the hazy ramps, but those ramps are hard to find. Like they're irreplaceable. For the most part. I mean, you can find old other worn ones and everything, but I was terrified flame polishing those. And some of those Segas are just a thin plastic anyways. But I mean, I flame polished them. They turned out great, but I mean, you still got to be super careful. And most people in pinball are not going to attempt that, you know, on a game.
Yeah, right. You don't want the Salvador Dali mod on your plastic ramp for sure.
Yeah.
It's not good. All right, here's another one, Greg. Are you ready for this one? Here's another one. A long playing game is actually okay. It seems pretty innocent. A long playing game is actually okay.
It does,
I don't think that's very controversial.
See, what sucks, Ken, is like I went into a lot of these thinking they were going to be real quick, clear-cut answers on some of these things, but Mike, dude, it's just so much to it, because I don't mind a long playing game. Like, you know, if you're tearing up Harry Potter can be a little bit of a long playing game, but it'll also kick you in the ass. But Hobbit, I think hands down, no one is ever going to say Hobbit is a quick game. But I love the journey. I love being on that game for 45 minutes or so. Like, I love it. But the problem becomes when you're done on that journey, you don't want to touch that game for a month.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. And it's funny that you referenced Hobbit, because when this question came in, it's the first game that came into mind.
Yes.
And then today, before we started recording, I was just kind of going over some of the show notes. Again, it came into mind. And what came into mind was exactly what you said. Hobbit's a game. You grab a 6-pack of beer or your favorite beverage, if it's non-alcoholic or whatever, and you do get ready to go on a journey, because you're going to go on a journey. That's not the game where you're like, I got to pick up the kids from school in about 15 minutes. I'm going to put on a quick game of Hobbit. There's no such term as a quick game of Hobbit, unless you're playing it blindfolded, maybe. But for that being said, the theatrical experience and the immersion that you get from the game, it's worth it. And that's one of those games where I want some stop and go, and it does that well, holds the ball.
Yes.
It presents something to me on the LCD screen, which gets me excited or in the mood for the next mode that's coming up. And for that, I appreciate it. And again, just kind of like if you watch a good movie, you don't necessarily want to like watch it again the same day.
But on the opposite spectrum, there's games out there that are still long playing. You don't get that great cinematic experience. You don't get that. It's just so much like they're not super brutal. They don't drain. They're long playing, and you start to very quickly get to a point to where it's rinse and repeat. And those I do have a problem with, and a lot of people don't achieve that. It's a decently skilled player for some of these games to get to that point, but there are games out there that are like that. No, those long players, I don't have as much grace for. Those I'll kind of walk away from and not care about. So, I think it very much depends on what long playing game you're playing. Lord of the Rings can be a little long playing too. Great,
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Great game.
Interesting that they're both kind of in the same realm there, Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. But yeah, Lord of the Rings, another great game.
And a long playing game is going to depend on your collection too, because if you don't want something like the Hobbit, you don't want a long playing game no matter how great it is in a small collection. If you've just got one pin, you don't want that. If you've got 3 pins, you probably don't want that. But if you've got 5-7 games plus, you can have a long player in there because you've got other things to play in between, until you feel like, okay, I can go on the Hobbit journey again.
That's kind of where I was on the opposite side. It's like, do I want a brutal game? Like, no, I don't want a game that's going to like upset me and I can't stay alive for longer than a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But if I had a bigger collection, I would want to have
100%.
that in there. And you said it. I didn't even think about the flip side because originally I'm thinking, you know what? If I had one game, I probably want it to be a longer playing game so that I can get through more of the game. But maybe not. Maybe not. You're making me scratch my head on that one. All right, here's another one. It's more fun to fix them than to play them. It's more fun to fix pinball machines than to play pinball machines. Now, I'm really curious to see where you come from on this because I know at Flipping Out Pinball with customer support, part of that is you kind of getting into these games and helping in a technical issue if need be. And I'm curious if you enjoy that aspect of the repair more than you do actually playing.
So, and this is absolute truth and complete honesty. I think I actually.
Well, I'm glad you're not lying about this, Greg. So, and you're a company man here, so be careful.
Listen,
you love all the tech support calls. The best part of your day.
Yeah. Do you not like working on your game? Because you suck if you don't. What's your problem, man?
That's right.
Right. So the tech support stuff is a little different because most everything is over the phone, walking somebody through their game. There's great satisfaction in someone getting their game working. And being able to play it and all that stuff. But coming from, pure hobbyist standpoint, and not everybody's to this point. There's probably the majority of pinball people today are not to this point. But I actually encourage you to do it because you will find great satisfaction in it. I'm actually searching now for one. I even told Zach, I was like, man, you come across anything, needs a good shop job, needs a little bit of work.
Just a nice project.
Yeah, let me know because I picked up over the winter. I picked up a Stargate, and it was pretty rough, man. And I had out in the garage, and I had a little Mr. Buddy propane heater out there on me. I had a jacket on, and I was out there giving her hell during the winter. But I love working on a game, and honestly, man, there are times that I enjoy tinkering with them, and I love working on them, cleaning them up. Honestly, more than what I do playing pinball. And that's not a lie. Like, there's just something that is just so, therapeutic and zen about it. You learn a lot. You're making something better than what it was when you got it. It's just, there's so much to it that I just...
See, that's almost different. It's almost... Are you getting that satisfaction from like refurbishing and restoring, or are you getting that satisfaction from diagnosing an issue and actually fixing and repairing a game? Because I think those are two completely different things. I mean, not completely different, but how I would approach the answering this question would depend on the level of repair. Because honestly, you said it perfectly. There's a level of satisfaction that comes along with a successful repair because you build confidence as an owner. You get a little bit more familiar with the game. You pass that knowledge on to yourself on the next game, and it kind of opens up more opportunity for you when you're looking to buy or sell or trade. On the flip side of things, I want to hit the start button. I want to hit the start button, and I want the game to work. I don't want a credit dot where I'm spending, I want to go downstairs and play for an hour, but now I'm 45 minutes into figuring out what's happening in a Switch mate. It drives me insane. I don't like the repair side of things as much as
great point.
It sounds like.
I mean, great point, because yes, I do fall into that, because it's like what you said, like, and I do get frustrated with that. If I go down and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, I was going to play this and now I've got to lift this and fix a target. So like but those are annoying things. That to me is not really working on them when you got to make an adjustment or fix a switch. Like, I mean, it's working on them, but I don't know if I look at it as working on them, because it's just annoying. It's
maintenance. It's maintenance.
Yeah, it's just
fixing
maintenance.
A problem.
That's the way I look at it, as maintenance. And those are
okay.
bitch. Like, you're just like, God, I'm like you, like, I just want to play this damn game. Come on. But if I'm expecting to tear into something, or same thing with mods. I think modding something is the same way. Modding your game or putting an accessory or something on there. I think it can be that same thing. If it's something you feel like you have to do, it's a pain in the if it, you blocked out some time, you, like you said, you grab a beer, grab a glass of, iced tea or something, man, lemonade, go all in. It's enjoyable.
It's all about the mindset. So, and I'm putting myself in somebody's shoes that enjoys working on them more than they like playing these games. I would assume you're not going down into your game room, getting ready to play whatever game it is, and you turn it on and nothing's working, and you're like, yes. I get to fix this game and I don't have to play it tonight. Like, there's no way that happens. So I think you got to put it into context, like that. There's one thing to get satisfaction and enjoy working on these games, but there's no way somebody's having more fun working on them than actually hitting the start button and playing a game of pinball. I can't put myself in that, in that mindset at all.
I love it.
I can't. I don't get
like
it.
You said, one-off little things that I got to tinker with or fix something. A bulb fell out or something stupid, or I got to replace a switch on a game. That's annoying. I don't know. It can be okay, but it is annoying. I won't lie.
It's like, oh, honey, how did your night go? Well, I thought I was going to have to play some pinball, but thankfully it was broken.
Yes.
And I got to sit down and just fix it for 3 hours.
Or, people are coming over to play, and you've got a small issue with the game, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah. But, it's always the
but actually
worst
working on them, dude, going all in. I love it. Like, I think anyone that's fairly new to pinball, or you haven't had to adjust or mess with much, man, dive in there. That is one thing I can say. Annoying or not to you, dive in there, man. They are not as complicated as they seem for the most part. Some things diagnosing and helping people with the phone's a little rough because of laying eyes on it. Even FaceTiming or doing things can be a little rough.
Yep.
But dive in there. Do not be afraid to get in there. Take a look at stuff. Observe. It looks overwhelming, but it's not. So that is one thing that I whether it's fun to you or not, I always encourage getting in there, because you just learn so much and you become comfortable with your machine, and you'll honestly respect that machine a lot better after you've turned a screwdriver a couple of times on it.
You definitely get to know your machine in and out. And thankfully modern day pinball really has put itself in a position for a lot easier service and maintenance than it was kind of back in the day. So
100%.
For somebody that's considering getting their first game, don't let this conversation deter you, because I'd have the same conversation about a car, and my car isn't necessarily going to be breaking down all the time, but I would certainly rather drive it than fix it. But all right, you ready for another one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and this is the one that upset me and I took personal, and I debated just deleting it off the whole Facebook page, and that is Twilight Zone is not a great game. The pinball machine Twilight Zone is not a great game.
I want to repeat it one more time. Twilight Zone, the pinball machine, is not a great game.
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone, because I don't know how anybody could say the Twilight Zone is not a great game. I mean, Twilight Zone was my original Grail game. When I was just getting into pinball, my first game was an Earthshaker, 1989, System 11 game. Great. And then my first DMD pin was Judge Dredd, and I was like, this is amazing. But Twilight Zone was always like the unobtainium kind of game that I thought I would never own. And then I ended up owning it 3 times. And honestly, Greg, like, I would own it again if the right situation presented itself.
You don't think it's a little rinse and repeat? Hit the ramp, start a multi-ball.
I mean, for its time, it definitely had a deeper rule set, and it had a lot more modes, in my opinion. And with it being a wide body game, it has the perfect amount of stop and go that I like. It creates moments, but from a theme perspective, it hit on everything that I could possibly ask for. And then nowadays, with you having the ability, like if you, I don't know, we might have talked about this before, but you put a pin soundboard in that game, and it just makes so many changes. You tastefully mod it. You don't throw all the garbage in it that you see in a lot of these games. I know there's a reason why that game is heavily rumored to be remade, and that's because it's a good game. Nobody's thinking about remaking a game that most people don't think is a good game. So if somebody doesn't think it's a good game, I respect your opinion. But you're a terrible person, and I would appreciate you never introducing yourself.
I don't think it's a bad game.
There's just no way.
I respect it. It's never been like my go-to pin, but I respect it because I always thought it was a beautiful game, and I always enjoyed the amount of shots that it has into it. You know, it is like you said, like for that era of pinball, it was a little bit deeper rule set, and the amount of shots that they packed into that game were just astronomical to me. You know, the behind the flipper stuff, everything, you know, gumball machine, the magnets. It was a game that you just hadn't really seen before. So in that aspect, I super appreciate it. Just, I like modes. I like that journey. I like, you know, even as lame as what some of it is, like, I like the progression in that aspect. Even something like freaking, you know, go into Demolition Man or something, you know, you got some modes in there as weak as what it kind of is. I enjoy that a little bit better than what Twilight Zone, but I mean, it's not a bad game. It's just not my cup of tea.
I'm not saying it's the best game of all time, because
I think you did, Ken.
obviously
you put a pretty damn good
I'm
argument
biased
for it.
All right, great. It might be my favorite game of all time. Just all things considered, it might be my favorite game of all time. Do I think it's the best shooting game? No. Do I think it has the best artwork? No. Do I think it has the best audio package? No. Do I think it has the best light show? No. My favorite game of all time. From that era. Yeah. I mean, I've got my favorite modern day era games and from all different manufacturers, and we can reserve that conversation for another time. But anyways, whoever posted that on Facebook.
No, I just appreciate you admitting that you're in the minority.
I don't think I'm in the minority. There's no way I'm in the minority. Like, who would make again? Would you remake a game that a minority of people appreciate as like one of the better sought after pins? And you have to also consider the fact that, you know, there were so many of those games that were made, and it's still being considered for a remake. That, in my eyes, is like Hall of Fame status. Again, Pat Lawler designer, a lot of respect for Mr. Lawler. Personal Pat fan. So, all right, we can agree to disagree on that. I know it sounds like you're not as enthusiastic as I am on that one. So
I love seeing you get a little worked up and get a little hot.
It just came in a little bit hot. It'd be like telling me that Baywatch is a terrible game.
Oh, listen, I will fight people with you. We will both take up arms and whoop some ass over Baywatch, because Baywatch is fantastic.
All right, I got another one for you. If you're ready to move on.
I know you are.
All right, so we agree Twilight Zone is great. Here's the next one. LCD screens made pinball more expensive because of content and licensing, but not more enjoyable. LCD screens made pinball more expensive because of content and licensing, but not more enjoyable. Controversial pinball opinion.
So,
do you agree or disagree? Because that first LCD pin came out with Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
You know, 2011, 2012. That was the first screen. One.
So I think maybe early on it did, but I mean, I think that the rarity, you know, I would be curious. I'd say it's minimal. I'd say it's $100 or less of what probably to create, you know, a dot matrix display is versus an LCD screen, just because LCD screens and TVs and everything are so prevalent and mass produced all over now that you're creating probably a one-off product in a dot matrix, you know what I'm saying? So I'd say it's probably not.
But the other thing you have to consider, though, right, is, and maybe it doesn't jump out in front of you, but just creating a UI, like a user interface, like graphics, all those things that transitions, I think it's simpler on the DMD to do.
Yes.
And you don't have to take up as much real estate. But on a modern day pin with an LCD screen, you do have those assets like movie clips that you can throw on there, but there's still a lot of animations, and animations is super expensive. I think when you factor everything in, right, artwork, audio, all that kind of stuff, I think animations has got to be up there with probably the most expensive, time-consuming thing that you could put into a game, and all that has to go into the LCD
I
screen.
doubt they needed any kind of licensing, maybe just approval of what they were putting out for any DMD stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got the Ecto 1 or something on there that looks like the Ecto 1 or a freaking dinosaur on Jurassic Park.
What could it possibly... It's like you're playing Atari 2600 on the DMD.
So you probably
Yep.
saved some money in licensing back then. Like you said, you didn't have animators, you didn't have to worry about the graphics, you didn't have to worry about any of that stuff going on. So I'm sure that it obviously added to, the BOM. I don't know, man. I think it was just the next evolution on it. I think it was worth the cost. I won't say that it made pinball more fun, but it made it maybe more
Wow.
enjoyable.
Okay, well, isn't that kind of the same
No,
thing?
because I mean, I
Like,
think
if-
you still have a
if
lot
you
of fun on playing the game, but the enjoyability of it, because now you've got movie assets or you got animations and you're watching stuff and there's cool things happening. That's enjoyable.
yeah.
I think there is a small difference.
I'm citing the original post because I just to be clear, LCD screens made pinball more expensive because of content and licensing, but not more enjoyable.
I think it made it more enjoyable, but I do think it probably added to the cost.
I would agree. I think that it made it a little bit more expensive from a bill of material standpoint, as you already kind of pointed out. But I think also, I mean, I would much rather, there's a certain amount of charm that goes into seeing something on a DMD
Yes.
nowadays because we're used to seeing everything visually on these LCD screens. So when you go back, it does look antiquated, but again, it's a retro thing. You get nostalgia
Yes.
almost now, something from the 90s.
But Ken, point in hand, let's go back to The Hobbit that we already talked about. The Hobbit, because of the way that all of that was integrated, is phenomenal. And that game would be nowhere near as good as what it is fun or enjoyable if it did not have that LCD screen.
Great example. Great example. And think of this. I just for the sake of conversation, if you took a DMD game, because we were just talking about Ghostbusters, and you brought it into the Spike 3 era with LCD screens, like
Metallica.
how would that impact? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great. Perfect example. Metallica remastered with the LCD screen. That's huge.
More
And
enjoyable.
I would assume that more enjoyable. Thank you so much for saying that, because that's the perfect example for that. I don't see how anybody who's a fan of pinball or Metallica would not be able to say that LCD screen on the same title,
Yes.
essentially made the game more enjoyable. So I would disagree that these games are not more enjoyable, but I do agree that they, LCDs might have made the bill of materials or the overall design a little bit more
Agreed.
expensive. All right, Greg. Agree or disagree on this controversial pinball opinion, and that is pinball peaked in the 1990s. Controversial pinball opinion is pinball peaked in the 1990s.
Dude, I don't know if it peaked, but I think it's more of a nostalgia thing, and I love a lot of the titles of the 90s. But dude, everybody that knows me has heard me talk before. I am a sucker for Data East and Sega. And
Oh, yeah.
so,
All right. Yep.
I won't say it peaked because I mean, we've got great titles, and I mean, these games shoot amazing and the code is so much deeper, but man,
Yeah.
there's something to be said about those 90s games.
Yeah, it's kind of an open-ended question or open-ended statement. It really depends on how you interpret it, because I could see pinball peaking, like from a production of unit standpoint, sure. In the 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
there were, arcades were strong and thriving, and they are to a certain extent these days too. There's a resurgence from that standpoint. But when you look at the number of games that were coming out of like Bally, Williams, I don't even know that we're close to that yet.
No.
But quantity doesn't always mean quality, so to speak. So
Agreed.
from the perspective of, there are more pinball companies manufacturing games now than there were back in the 80s and 90s. So from the number of manufacturers, this genre has peaked, but from the number of games that are coming out, totally, maybe not. I would argue that probably pinball has peaked for the homeowner right now. And that is because a lot of these games are being created with the homeowner in mind, and that is with better rule sets and serviceability, things like that. So depending on how you look at it, I would say from my standpoint, like pinball's peaking right now, and the modern day era to me offers the fullest package of pinball. And I can get these games in my house. I don't have to get a game that's all beat up from a bar after it's like 20 years old. I can get a brand new game in a box, have it in my basement. So
Well,
I don't know what your angle is, but,
that might be
I would say pinball is peaking.
and that might be a good segment or something for us to sit down and discuss, is because I don't disagree now that you brought it up in the way that you framed that, because I think that kind of the question on all of our mind, I don't think it's peaked from popularity. I think that we're still growing. With flipping out, I can't comment on the percentage because we would have to look at numbers more. But over the last 2
Right.
years, the amount of people that we have had that are completely new to pinball or that are coming back into pinball because they played it when they were a kid, it's just astronomical right now.
Yep.
Like we've never seen before. So I think popularity of pinball has not necessarily peaked yet. I think we're still on that drive and that upturn there.
That upward swing.
But
Yeah,
it
for
would
sure.
be nice to sit down and discuss where does pinball go from here? Because we wanted online connectivity, we wanted saved progress, we wanted LCD screens, all these small things that we wanted. But where do we go to with a modern pinball machine? Like Pinball 2000 tried to revolutionize pinball to stay, in the relevant. That would be a nice thing for us to discuss and maybe do a show about if we could think of something. And maybe that's a question for our listeners out there. Maybe that's something we present on Facebook and stuff. Where does pinball go from here? What is the next evolutionary step?
Yeah. Pinball was kneecapped after Pinball 2000. And what if Pinball 2000 had thrived? Would the evolution of pinball be further now
Yes.
than if it had not stopped?
Yeah.
That's an interesting
And not to
question.
get into
I
it too
never
deep
really,
again, but you also have to be very respectful of, because people don't like strong change. So you kind of have to keep the same aesthetics and the same thing that people like in their lineup.
Yeah, see, that's a really good point. And that's where I'm kind of at. I mean, you're kind of within the restrictions of this box. And yeah, can some things change? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's still a pinball machine.
Yes.
How do you modernize it? I personally, I am a little bit particular when it comes to I like everything to line up in a row. I like
Agreed.
everything to look almost uniform.
Yep.
But I'm not opposed to a design change. And that's simply because I wouldn't mind seeing something that's a little bit easier to move around personally. Just as I get a little bit older, I don't like moving games as much anymore.
Yes.
So, and a lot of the weight in that game, it comes in the cabinet and things like that.
Yep.
So I wouldn't mind seeing something, maybe it's a little easier, but I wouldn't mind even seeing, maybe even a bigger LCD that is bigger than the back box that folds down.
Oh, I've got an idea about that me and Zach have already discussed. So yeah, let's save that. Let's come back to that. Put a pin in it. We're coming back to that on another episode because that warrants a longer discussion.
Fair enough. So taking all these into consideration, and I want to, joking aside, thanks everybody for even submitting your feedback on this, because it was something that we just kind of threw up on Facebook to see where it went and create a lot of good content. And if you want to keep interacting with the show, please, jump on Facebook, jump on Instagram, Flipping Out Pinball Podcast. We're posting there and you can engage with the show. And then again, hit us up on Patreon if you want to have a little bit more inside baseball, the community, and in our topics. But is there anything that you have that's on your mind? Because I noticed you didn't post anything there and I didn't post anything there. I assumed we would hold our controversial pinball opinion for the show. And I'd love to see what you have in mind if you want to be controversial. Because you're pretty even keeled, but I've also known that not to poke the bear with the Greg bone, because he gets a little feisty and he'll be coming at you, and before you know it, he already bit you in the leg. So what do you got?
Man, I don't know. I'd have to think on it a little bit. I wasn't prepared for that.
All right, I got one for you.
Oh yeah, I want to hear it. Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, actually, I got two.
Ken's been holding these in. I feel like that this wasn't for this episode. This is something you've been dwelling on for a long time.
Well, this is something that I think I had a conversation with somebody a while back ago, and they made fun of me, and I don't mind being made fun of, because it is what it is. But all right, hear me out. I would prefer that a ball interact with a target instead of a bash toy directly. I don't care for bash toys. And I don't. Now hear me out on this, and this is why. And I'm gonna get ruined for this. When I'm making a shot, I like to be able to calculate with a certain level of certainty how that ball is going to react to the target and where I think it's going to go after hitting the target. And what ends up happening with a bash toy, because bash toys for the most part aren't parallel or even, or there's different ridge and anomalies, and when you hit the bash toy, there's uncertainty coming back. So it's almost like a physical magnet in the sense that you don't know where the ball's going to go. Now, sometimes that's enjoyable, but sometimes I just don't like it. And it just kind of cheapens the experience for me. I would rather see a cool toy on top of like a target where the ball hits the target and the toy does something, maybe reacts as if it got bashed, but I'm getting a predictable rebound off of that target. I know. I'm just saying it because it's controversial.
Ken?
But my controversial pinball opinion is I don't care. I don't care for bash toys.
Ken,
Nope.
do you make love to your wife with your socks on? That's what that sounds like. That's what that sounds like.
Is that what it seems like? I don't know. There were. I don't even know how to take that one.
I think a freaking stand-up target is going to be just as unpredictable as a bash toy. At least the bash toy looks cool to hit.
How is a stand-up target unpredictable?
Oh, because you still don't know. It's so like the variable of angle and speed and power behind it, I mean, can greatly affect where that ball is going. Like that's what the magic of pinball is. Like, I mean, certain targets you can, but man, like I
think I can predict the rebound off of a stand-up or a drop target with better certainty, in my opinion, than just like a hanging, dangling bash toy. That's just the way I look at it.
Oh man, I don't know. I like bash toys. Like the barn doors on Walking Dead are great. Like the Well Walker is dumb as shit looking, but I mean that's still fun to hit. Slimer.
Okay, I would agree with that. I didn't like Slimer as much. That was the one thing in Ghostbusters where I wasn't really.
Yeah.
I do like the crate in Scared Stiff because again, that's almost like a solid target that you're hitting. You are bashing it, but in that sense, then a drop target or a stand-up target would be a bash toy, and I don't think that that's intended to be called a bash toy. But something that's flat and offers predictable rebound, I'm in with that sort of bash toy. But a random bash toy, I don't think.
I mean, I see where you're coming from. Just because I don't like an unfair. I mean, pinball is unpredictable, but I don't like anything that creates just an unfair super out of your control that you need to hit it and there's going to be no control. You know, it's like some games, Aerosmith, Willy Wonka, some things where the ball is just inevitably going to come out of the pops. You know, one out of every three times it's up there in an uncontrolled manner that wants to drain. There are some bash toys.
I'll tell you what, Greg. I'll tell you what. I don't even care if there are pops in a game. I could do without pop bumpers. Get the jets out of the game. I don't care.
Oh, I could do without.
Ball gets stuck up in there, rattles around for a couple minutes. I don't need it. Put something else there that's going to do more than hitting the jets. And I know that, like from a purist standpoint, that's probably disappointing to hear.
No.
But
I don't think we need them anymore.
You could take the pops right out of a game. Don't even care.
Yeah, I don't think we need them. I think it's just a nostalgic sound and feeling up there of designs that are, we were just kind of forced into something cool like that. And pops are fine, but I actually agree with you. Like they're not needed in modern pinball.
That would be a controversial pinball opinion.
Yeah,
pop pumpers are not needed in every game. And then finally, another one is in almost every case, I would prefer a color playfield package versus black and white.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
That would be my other controversial pinball opinion. Like I can appreciate some of the black and white approaches to like a game or two, but you know what? I hope there's not a trend where we're seeing a bunch of black and white games.
Munsters was fine. Elvira was really pretty.
Yeah, I thought so.
But again, not my cup of tea. I wouldn't have got that. I wouldn't have got Godzilla personally. Again, it's like what you started off the show with. Pinball is very subjective. Art is very subjective. Everything about it is subjective. But yeah, I agree with you on that. My cup of tea would be the full color package. I don't want to start seeing all this, black and white packages coming out. Screws up my lineup.
Elvira's a good example. I would much rather have the color package on Elvira than that blood.
Yeah, I would too. But Blood Red is pretty. It's probably one of the better done black and white. Like I kind of like it, but still would have went with the color over it.
Yep. All right. Well, that's my. I've thrown out my controversy.
I do have one. I do have one slightly, and I think somebody commented this to an extent on our page, but it is something that I like. Whether this is what they were meaning or not, I kind of agree with it. Is don't people in this hobby tend to be very negative towards people who have large collections or who can buy whatever game they want. I'm not too fond of hearing that. Like, a lot of people work very hard for their money. A lot of people put themselves in a position to be able to buy their pinball machines. It's not that they just fell into like, hey, I'm going to mortgage the entire house and buy games. Like, leave people the fuck alone. If they want to have a 30 pinball collection, let them have it. If they want to trade a game every 2 months for a new game, let them do it. It's a hobby. It's fun. Some people go buy $50,000 boats. Some people are buying sports cars. Some people are buying, side-by-sides that are $20,000, $25,000 that they're tearing up in the woods. Some people choose to go buy $7,000 to $15,000 pinball machines. Let them do it and leave them alone. We are all in this hobby together. Don't get mad if you can't buy one. Like, it's just going to happen. It just sucks. Like, I was there. It took me forever to start building up my collection and stuff. And a lot of it was just, buying games, buying used games, working on them, cleaning them up, touching stuff up, getting them working to sell and to be able to get, a better machine, trade up, that sort of thing. But just I think it's just so tacky and just so uncalled for to talk about someone else's ability to own a particular number of games or whatever game they choose to buy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There are a lot of different entry positions into this hobby, which is kind of cool. You can get in for $550 maybe on an EM or a fixer upper, or you can go in and you can spend $20,000 on a restored game. So it's whatever you want to put into it. But I agree. I mean,
again, we're in this hobby together. Like, so many people want to tear it down now. Like that's another.
You know what? You don't even need to be together and everything. If you feel that you're just not on the same page as somebody that has 50 games in their basement, that's okay.
Yes.
But you probably don't need to be so miserable about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, still go throw a few dollars, enjoy pinball, go to your local arcade or find somebody, and like I said, if you can only get an EM, dude, nobody's mad at you for it. It's still pinball. Like, I would take an EM. Like, pinball to me is pinball. Like, I kind of get made fun of, I get ridiculed because I love almost everything. I really do. There's maybe 1 to 2 games that I would just refuse to own and just I miserable playing. But everything else, I just love pinball. And so many of these people in this hobby are just so freaking nasty about it. They're nasty to other people. They're just like, I wish the market would crash. I wish this would happen. Blah, 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 blah. These manufacturers are screwing us. Everybody's terrible. This sucks. Well, then what the fuck are you doing in the hobby? Please tell me what you're doing in this hobby then. If you think everybody's out to get you, that everything is wrong, that everybody's screwing up, like, why are you here?
Fighting the good fight.
Yeah, it makes me so mad because I still love pinball that much. Ken, you know this. Like, we work in pinball. It's our day to day, and our jobs don't stop. We work after hours. We're pulling some weekends and we're doing stuff. But guess what? Like I said, I'm still out shopping a pinball machine in my garage in the freezing cold with a little propane heater on me.
Yeah, in your spare time.
Yeah, I'm playing pinball when I'm not. Like, I love this hobby. Am I happy with some of the things happening? No, but I'm not looking for its demise, and I'm not attacking people because they got more games than me, or they can buy this or they can buy that. Like, I would have liked a Potter CE. Guess what? It was out of my budget. I bought an arcade, and I'm fucking ecstatic about it.
Sure. Yep.
Sorry. Done.
No, it's good. It's good. I love how you kind of laid that out there, man. And listen, it's hard for me to really disagree with a lot of what you just said. And, I think thankfully a lot of that kind of rhetoric comes from a vocal minority that just seems larger than it is, because a lot of those people are repetitive with their discouragement. But, I always say, if you can, without being taken advantage of, obviously, you want to be looking for concepts and not trying to point out failures all the time, because
agreed.
I can tell you this from the manufacturer standpoint, I don't know of anybody that's in the business that doesn't have a true love and passion for pinball. And people are trying to make games to make you happy. And there's nothing that makes them happier knowing that they put a smile on your face with the games. Yes. And then from a collector standpoint, yeah, you're right, man. I mean, if I'm working hard my whole life and I'm in a position now where, and I'm not saying me personally, because I'm working hard, but I'm not yet in a position where I can have 50 games and 5 nice cars and 3 houses. But I'm certainly not mad at the people that busted their ass to get there.
Agreed.
And, and a lot of these guys that are a little bit more successful are not necessarily flaunting anything either. It's just they take a little bit of unfair blowback because there's that disconnect of, like, if I don't have what you have, and I don't even know if that's fair, but
There's nothing wrong with people that can buy what they want. They spend their money how they want to spend their money. You as an outsider should never be the judge of how someone spends their own money. If they're not affecting your life or they're not intruding upon your being, then let them do whatever they want with their money. Leave them alone. It's their choice.
the money's going back into the industry, which helps support the industry as a whole, which allows more pinball to be made. So,
Well, that's the thing is like some of these people out here rooting for it and stuff. I mean, man, like, you could easily like when you're and they're not saying they're rooting for the failure. Like saying, "Oh, I wish this company would fail." But the things that they're saying and the things that they're doing and the things they're posting and talking about are very much that. It's not, it's not necessarily super underlying. So you do exactly to your point what you just said. Like if you love the hobby, you want it to thrive. So some things we might need to take in stride a little bit. Some things we can complain about, but we don't want to put things into jeopardy, or at least to me, to where that pinball doesn't exist anymore, because it's what we all started and it's what we all love, man.
we were talking earlier about fixing games and how some people enjoy fixing them more than playing them. And you were just talking about how even in your spare time, when you're not doing work, you're in the garage, you're fixing games. I wanted to introduce a segment that's along the lines of Greg's Tech Tips. So we'll have to get some bumper music and some voiceover work on that.
Well, I can do it better for you. It's Greg's Tech Tips. That was
I love it.
Yeah, so you know what? Like a segment that that Ken and I talked about that we'd really like to roll in for you guys that may or may not be helpful, but I think it will be helpful to most of you people out there who own a machine, is I kind of want to give you tech tips. When new games come out, if there's a particular issue that's kind of plaguing that game that I see pop up, or I hear from the manufacturer that's kind of popping up on those games, I want to try to bring that to you guys. In this segment today, I want to bring you the very most basic that is going to help you across almost any manufacturer of a modern game, whether, it be Stern, whether it be JJP, be Spooky, Barrels of Fun, anything, like it's going to help you. And that number one tip, as simple as what it is and as crazy as what it sounds, is to just reseat those connections. And what I mean by that is, let's just say that you're having a problem with your trough, your opto boards and your trough on a game. Now, this does not pertain to Spooky because I think that they still use rollover switches. But, anything that's an opto-based or just a board-based, even a coil I've seen happen before, make sure your game is powered off and just unplug and replug those connections back in. And back to that opto board and that trough, if you've got, a game that's spitting out a few balls, it could be a bad opto board, but probably, if I had to guess, 25% to maybe 40% of the time, if not more, it's just a connection issue. And when I say that, I'm not talking about like, oh, hey, Greg, I checked the plug and the plug felt tight in there and it was on there. No, it's like unplugging your TV and plugging your TV back in. I cannot explain to you what fixes it, what it does, but interrupting that connection solves a lot of problems. Yeah,
it creates a new handshake.
Yes,
and then you're up and running.
Exactly, it's crazy. So if you're experiencing anything like that, even on your CPU and stuff, reseat those connections. You got a coil that's messing up or an opto that's not registering. Number one thing to do for that opto or that switch, unplug it, plug it back in. Again, do it with the game off. And most of the time, that's going to solve your problem. Not saying that, hey, there's not bad switches, there's not bad optos, there's not bad boards, not any of that stuff. But a lot of time, that, like Ken said, reintroducing that handshake will oftentimes solve your problem. And it is the first thing that you want to try before you're spending money or, diving in and pulling parts out to replace something.
So, and just to clarify, you said make sure your game is powered off. Does it have to be unplugged also, or just turning the power off cuts everything?
No, usually power off, because you've eliminated that power just because of your power supply and everything there, and your power distribution board and stuff on games. So typically I won't unplug it, but definitely make sure your game is off. You never want to go messing with bulbs. You never want to go prodding around in there with your game turned on, because then you take a giant risk of shorting something else out, bumping something, and frying a board for real.
That's great advice, Greg. I love it.
Yes. Hey, and just for reference, one quick thing on that. So literally, I went to a customer's house, a very good customer of ours, and I won't mention the game, I won't mention anything else, but there was a thing of coils that were dead in a particular area that wasn't doing good. Guess what solved it? Reseating the connections to those. Yep, to the main boards that those coils fed into, reseating those connections solved his problem.
Huge.
Yeah,
it seems so simple. It seems too good to be true. You know what, Greg? I might enjoy fixing them more than playing them if I just need to reseat the connectors.
That is the best part. That is the easiest, greatest thing.
I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to try it next time. Reseat everything. Just when you get a new game, just reseat all the connectors before you turn it on. That's probably the best way.
And I've had to do it to my own games. I mean, and people are like, what's that going to do? Like, why does, I'm like, listen, I don't know the science behind it. I'm not an engineer. I didn't build these games, but I will tell you that it does work.
I love it, man. Well, we're going to do it. So again, tech tip number 1, reseat all the connectors and see if it
with the
fixes
game
your
off.
problem. With the game off. Greg's tech tips. Hey, so I wanted to take a second. I've been with Flipping Out now for a little bit over a month, and I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people and just customers coming in and asking questions and curious. I want to see what I'm experiencing is similar to what you're experiencing. Like, what are people calling in about right now? What are people looking for?
Oh, man.
From your side of things.
Yeah. Potters are still strong. Jaws 50th, obviously, that kind of being the latest drop, those Jaws 50ths, man, did they sell, probably better than what I thought they were going to. Those things were hot. I think we have just a couple left, maybe 3 or 4 left, if that. In those, like we sold I sold like 2 yesterday, even still. So those things are going hot. What else? Dune still got some Dunes coming out there. You'd mentioned on your end, I'll let you elaborate because I've had a few come in, but that new code drop on X-Men. Yeah, we've been used X-Men, new X-Men premium, like those have been going pretty good again.
Yeah, I okay, so we're in the same alignment here. I've got on my list Jaws 50th, Harry Potter, X-Men, and Dune. Exactly the same 4. And X-Men, it's nice to see the game have some more legs after publicly addressing some of the code, feedback that CERN's been receiving. So that's cool.
It.
And that, yeah. Well, you know what? I don't have a lot of time on that game. I've got to get on it. So for me, I'll be experiencing that for the first time with updated code, it seems like. But
yeah, that new code made a big difference. I didn't mind it before. I mean, it was what it was. It wasn't atrocious or anything, but there wasn't a lot going on. But man, this new code update, it made it so much better. Like so much better that I know that a couple of customers that had sold their games or traded them into us had come back and bought it again because they're like, oh man, I made a mistake.
It's like I wish I would have known. It's like, all right, just wait for X-Men 50th to come out, and then you'll have something. But Jaws 50th actually was, and it's funny because we were talking about that. Was it the last episode or 2 episodes ago? I don't recall. Yeah. And we were positive on the game, and there were a couple things that didn't necessarily call to us, maybe in super high regard with some of the art decisions. But I gotta say. And again, this isn't me trying to be salesy or anything. The game, the things that I thought didn't appeal to me are appealing to me more so with the artwork. And I would like to own that game at some point. I would like to own a nice Jaws 50th.
I'm not wrong. And you know what? Zach's the one that's talked me into it. Like that bastard talks me into so much stuff because he starts talking. Right. He's like, Greg, but you really need to think about this and consider this. And I'm like, you stop it.
Yeah.
You stop it now.
Yeah. It's a good overall package. I like how they did that. At the end of the day, I'm gonna tip my hat on the Jaws 50th. So,
and I don't have the exact date. You guys will have to tune into the Pinball show next time Zach and Dennis record. But I do believe that they are going to do a potential another run of these Jaws.
Yeah. So I think we were expecting to get some of those in July because we had a little bit of a back order, and I think they'll be back in stock, and then potentially another little mini run in September, if I recall.
Yes, I think that's about right.
Perfect. So, hey, if you got to get out there, if you're looking to get a new game, you're looking to get a used game, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about too. The used inventory is turning over so fast at the Flippin' Out Pinball Facebook page. If you're looking for a used game, go to our Facebook page. While you're there, just click follow or like, because at that point, when things are updated, you're going to get a notification. we started an interest list for used games now. And
Yes.
it's been tremendously helpful because the used games go fast. We have them priced to move, and I would challenge anybody to compare our used prices to anywhere else. And you're getting super deals. But if you have a used game that you're looking for, if you're looking for a Simpsons Pinball Party, you're looking for a Scared Stiff, you're looking for a road show, you can email myself or Greg. And again, that's Ken at Flippin' Out Pinball or Greg at Flippin' Out Pinball. Let us know what you were looking for used-wise. We'll put you on the list. That way, when it comes in on trade or we buy a game, we can actually even reach out to you as it's getting posted. So
Yes, and you've refined that process. We had a list prior, but we had issues with how we were creating the list, how everything happened. So you've came in and you really helped us refine that. So now it's a little bit better. So if you get on that list, if you've already said, hey, I want it on a list prior, re-email me, re-email Ken, because this new setup, we've tried to import people over, but it's a lot better setup and a lot more conducive to us being able to find people and be able to get people, the games that they want.
And I'm not trying to create a sense of urgency or FOMO or anything like that, but I'm telling you, the used games go fast. They're quick. They're priced to move. And yeah, so if you have something in mind, we're not asking for anything up front. Just get us your information when it comes in. Yes. We'll let you know, hey, that game you're looking for is here. So
and on the top of that Facebook page, there is a pinned post. Well, it's not a post; it's a list. I don't know what you would call it up there, but it's like a drop down.
It's a pinned post.
Okay, it's pinned post.
I would say. Yeah.
So on there, Zach will always put the date on there. It was just updated yesterday, 7/15. And if you look on there, he'll have when he updated it, but it will literally tell you the entire list of used and new games that we have and what is available, if it's been a reduced price, where it's at. So even if you don't want to, just so you don't have to scroll all through Facebook, you can look on there, and if you find, like what you said, a Simpsons Pinball Party or something, now you can say, okay, that's still available. Then scroll through the Facebook post, and you can find that game, take a look at pictures, details, and all that stuff. But it's a good quick reference. Look up there on that thing if you don't want to just scroll through a bunch of posts looking for games.
Yeah, and I gotta say, overwhelmingly, when somebody's reaching out and they're inquiring about a game or the ordering process or something, I've got to tip my hat to you and Zach. You guys are my buddies, obviously, so I hold you true to my heart, and I love you guys. But the level of appreciation and referrals for people coming in because they had a good experience or a great experience with Flipping Out, or a buddy of theirs had a great experience. It's amazing. It's more than I ever thought to even give you guys credit for. So I just want to even say publicly, Greg and Zach, you guys are killing it over there, and I'm happy to be aboard because
you things happen, but man, we strive and we try to keep, the industry, we try to uphold that industry leading customer service that we're known for. But things happen. But I'd say that we are a 99.9% satisfaction rate, which is huge. But it's like you said, and you're seeing yourself, with what you're doing, you're a great asset to everything. Just we all work hard to keep that, and we try to do the best we can to make everybody happy with their purchase and to make their game the most enjoyable experience that they could ever have.
Proud to be aboard, Zach, Nicole, Greg, and team. It's gonna be a fun time. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen here going forward. And it's just, everything's good. Life is good, Greg. Life is good. I recently got into cigars, and because you know what, I'm working from home now out of St. Charles, Illinois, and it's been a very fulfilling experience. A cigar and a bourbon goes a long way.
It does.
It kind of just chills the day down as we get ready to chill the episode down here on the Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast. You have any final thoughts, Greg?
I do not, man. This was a good episode. I enjoyed what the community brought to us and gave us a lot to think about. Meant a lot.
This is the first episode that we had a chance to do where a new pinball machine didn't come out. So it's kind of nice to just kind of have the banter and find our groove. And listen, we appreciate everybody that's coming in and listening. Go to Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast on Facebook. Follow, or share over there, and you'll be notified of new episodes. Or follow us on your favorite podcatcher, whether that's Apple or Spotify or Podcast Addict. Wherever you're listening to podcasts, you should find us there. And if for some reason you're on a podcast platform that doesn't have the Flippin' Out Pinball Podcast, let us know, because we got to figure that out. And one more time, you can reach us. My email is ken@flippinoutpinball.com. Greg, what's your email?
Greg@flippinoutpinball.com.
And finally, visit flippinoutpinball.com for all of your pinball needs, whether it's new, used, inventory, accessories. We've got it all over there. For Greg Bone, I am Ken Cromwell.
And for everybody out there is nothing wrong with thinking that Twilight Zone sucks balls.
Terrible. Don't forget to take some time out of your day to play some pinball. So long, everybody.